Hey, welcome back to Fix Everything. Today, we are going to tackle the dryer. It's getting to be the fall season, and over the course of the year, this has built up a ton of lint inside the cavity where the vent is. Everything is basically going from inside the dryer down into this vent cavity behind, and then it goes up through the magic silver tube out to the dryer vent. So this dryer hose is only about 2 years old, so I know it's got to be pretty clean in there, but I'm going to check it anyway. So I did check the outside vent. It is clear, but if this builds up over time, little by little inside that hose, it becomes more and more restricted as the lint builds up, causing either A, wet clothes when the cycle is finished, or it'll cause your dryer to kick off because it's restricting the airflow. That is a safety measure. So what we're going to do today is clean this out completely. So every time you do a cycle, you always take the lint filter and you take that out. That's got very little in it right now from the last time we used it. But if you look down into the cavity, there's some nasty things down there. And that's just the top part. If we go more towards the bottom, and you'll see that in a little bit, there's going to be all kinds of crud in there. So what we have to do is remove this front panel. It would be easy just to remove the bottom panel, but it's also attached to the top panel. So we've got, where are they? 1, 2, 3 screws on the top bezel. We're going to remove those, and we're going to take this whole front off, one step at a time. Now your dryer is probably going to vary. I don't know if you have a front load set. These are very old GEs. They've been working just fine. But once a year I like to clean the crud out of there because it is a fire hazard, especially now that we're coming into fall. So we're going to take these 3 screws off. There's one in the corner here, one in the center here, and one on the other side here. And we're going to remove the rear bezel and just take it out of the way. Make sure you get your screws. There's 3 of them. Put them in a safe place. Now you can see we've got a gap here, and there's 1, 2 screws that are going to come out, and this whole top is going to come up and out. 1, 2 screws removed. This whole panel will lift up. Look at that. Wow. Cool. Circuit boards, belts, drums, clips, wires. Wow. So this basically lifts up, and it's hard to do with one hand, but I'll pull it forward just like that. And we're going to put it just to the side for now. Now we have a clear view of the top. So the next thing we're going to do is now remove 1 screw here and 1 screw over here, and this control panel is going to come out. But before we do that, let's take this pinned connector off, and you just gently pry that away from the circuit board. Just be careful you don't pull too hard. These are pretty hefty, but you do not want to have a circuit board issue. Just kind of gently wiggle it back and forth, and then it'll come right out. Put that aside. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to disconnect the dryer drum light and the power connector. You probably should just unplug this first. I never think of these things, but somewhere back here there's a plug. Let's unplug the dryer before we get zapped. Dryer safely unplugged. There's a little clip, little bendable clip. Just pull up and it will pop. Another one right there. Just pull upwards and pull away, and there we go. So keep these free, because as you pull this front off, you don't want those wires to drag or catch on anything. You don't want to be ripping wires out. Now that we have the 2 screws, one here, one on the other end, removed, this whole panel, control panel, just gets pulled right up and out. And again, make sure nothing's catching. And we're going to put this aside as well for later. And all you should see now is the drum and the top of the door. There's a screw here and a screw here. This drum is going to drop as soon as we take this off. So don't panic. It's not going to go anywhere. Just do it gently. Now with these screws removed, this is ready to come off. But before you can do that, near the bottom, there's a screw in here and a screw in here that hold that whole panel on. So let's take those off next. All 4 screws removed. You can literally take this whole thing apart with one Phillips head screwdriver. Really nice design. So that door is just hanging there. If I pull back just a little bit, the whole thing's just going to fall right out of there. So now this drum, it's hard to see in there, is attached to this door. There's a slide plate there. So when I pull this door this way, this drum is going to drop about 1 inch. Let's see if I can get you to see that. It's kind of... See how that dropped now? Make sure your wires are free, because this whole thing is going to come out now. And you drop it to the floor. Wow. So, there she is. Let's spin this around so it's easier to clean. And let's inspect the sleeve here. This is what meets the drum. The drum, which is here, this lip right under here, rides on this Teflon strip here, Teflon strip here, Teflon strip here, and Teflon strip here. 4 of them. So if your dryer is squeaking, squealing, or making lots of noise, when you take this door off, inspect those. If they're worn down, which you can see over the years, there was one that wore right out once, and it was riding on this plastic, squealing like crazy. So take your finger, cloth, maybe some Windex, and just clean these off while you're in here. Inspect those. These are very inexpensive. You can get a 4-pack for about $10 on Amazon. Just punch in your model number of your dryer. But that is 90% of the squealing issues that you would have if your dryer is making all that noise. If you let this go too long without replacing these, this whole piece will have to be replaced because it will wear that sucker down really fast. There's your light, full of lint. So we're going to just take a vacuum and clean all of this out. We're going to do these nooks and crannies here, and mostly we're going to do the base. Look at this. Look at this. It's unbelievable what's in there. And then we're going to actually go up in there and clean this whole section that's behind this plate. So now I'd like to take this off. I got what I could behind here with my hand, but there's a lot more stuff trapped in there, so I'm going to take this plastic cover off. To do that, I have to flip this around to the front, and there are 2 screws that will remove it. So we're going to take this door and open it, and there's a screw here and a screw here. Let's take those off. So now that that screw's removed, we're going to take our wires, and we're going to unfeed them from these little connectors in here. And once we have the harness out of those little clips, which we will put them back in and bring this back up to the top again, we can actually now pull on this, and it should, this bottom half should come right off. Just be careful you're not breaking anything on both ends. So carefully remove it, and take a look at that. Holy crow. It's no wonder this thing couldn't breathe. Every once in a while it would stop, clothes are half wet. So take the vac, go to town. Yuck! Woo-hoo-hoo! You can get a little paintbrush in here if you want to as well, but a good strong vacuum usually does the trick. 99% better than it was before. And there you have it. Clean as a whistle. Way, way, way better. If you have not changed your vent hose, go and get one. Lowe's, Home Depot, all these places have it. 10, 20 bucks. Comes with the clips. Rather than clean this out, just throw it away. And there's usually a strap behind the dryer. Unscrew it, undo it there. And then if you can get up there, mine's very tight up there, but if you can get to your vent, take it off that end as well, and just replace the whole thing. You do not want fires at the holiday season or any time of the year. So there's a lot of things you can do to absolutely prevent that. So this is clean. I'm going to put it back together now. It's reverse order. If you need to take notes, great. You need to freeze the video, great. You can always reverse. And let's put it back together. So the bezel gets clipped in right in the corner here. Make sure that the weather stripping is flat and in place. This is where the dryer drum rides, and you want a nice tight seal, and that should clip right into place. I'm going to then wind my wires up through those connectors and up through the top. Wires up in the harness. This is now fed through here, and don't forget your ground screw. Let's put that back on. We had to take that off because I really wanted to get in there very well. It was hard to do while that was still there. Then the front screws to attach that back in. One here, one here. While you're in here, there's an impeller vent fan right here. Get in there if you can with your vacuum. Try to clean that out best you can. It's not too bad, but there's a chunk on the bottom, so make sure that looks good. You could also look inside the cavity if you'd like. Just lift the drum up a little bit. By all means, get your vacuum in there and suck it up. Suck it up. Looks good. Now comes the tricky part. We have to put this door on and with my thumb lift this drum up so it meets the housing on the back of the door. That's the tricky part. So what you want to do is put the bottom on that ledge. Hopefully you have a ledge. We have those storage basin things that keep this off the ground, although we never use them. But you want to bring this up, lay it on the ledge. Get it close at least. You'll see the screw holes are here, and there's the screw holes here. They're about an inch short. This whole thing has to come up and meet. You can see there's the skids. So this whole apparatus right here, this housing has to go under this lip. So I have to kind of close it and lift this up at the same time. Very hard to do and hold a camera, but you get the gist. I'll try to see if I can do it. It'll be a miracle with one hand. Make sure your wires are inside when you do that. No way that just happened, right? It did. Okay, it's in, but I've got to lift this door so that these holes meet. So you're going to get your hand at the bottom down here, and I'm going to lift up so that these screw holes meet. As soon as that happens, I'm going to take one of my screws and put it in place to hold this whole thing while I get the other screws. So I'm going to put my knee on here. Amazing. So just a little upward pull this way. Got one of my screws in. These meet up now. There's a little latch too. This just sits right in a groove. You can't miss it. It will not go in unless you get the groove just right there. But you have to lift this at the same time. So it's not too hard. If you need someone to help you, grab a friend or somebody just to lift this while you put this whole door forward. That's it. We're going to put the rest of our screws in. Yeah, baby, all screws in. So before you seal this up, just kind of pull on the drum a little bit. Just make sure it spins. It shouldn't be dragging. It should move freely and smoothly, and it does. And you're going to connect your wire harnesses back up. Just match the wire colors. Very simple. Connected. Fantastic. Next is the control panel. There is flanged metal on the back of this, which is going to fit right into the top of this black part of the door. All you really have to do is kind of line it up and slide downwards like that, and it locks into place. Even without the screws, it will hold itself. But we want to make sure that we put 2 screws in. Tight. Tight. Make sure you grab the wire harness and put it right back into the socket. It only goes one way. There's a notch right here, and there's a notch on the circuit board where the connector is. Be very careful you don't bend the pins. Take your time. Go slow. Once you're certain it's inserted correctly, just put straight down in the middle. Don't put too much force on this board if you don't have to. Next comes the top. The top in the rear has these slotted cutouts which meet these tabs that come up on both ends. So if you just lift this up, I'm going to do it with one hand. Whoa! Woohoo! You want to get back here and kind of match it up. Just pushes right onto it. Just make sure you got both ends. And this just drops right into place. Just like that. Now we'll put 2 screws here. Last thing we're going to do is put this nice little trim bezel back in. It basically just slides into place. There's like a little clip there. You can't miss it, or you can feel it lock in. And then put those 3 screws back in to hold that. And last but not least, 2 screws at the bottom that will hold the door in place firmly, and you'll be ready to try it out. At this point, you can plug the dryer back in. I cleaned my vent screen. Open the door. There's the light. Bingo. Check the seal on your door. Make sure it's not torn. If it is, that's a very cheap fix. Basically just pops into place. There's little spots here and there. You just plug it back in. But every once in a while, I'll take my finger and just clean these out. Make sure it makes a good seal against the drum door. And that's it. It's ready to go. Power works. Everything lights up. That's a good sign. So you did it yourself. I'm not sure how much this would have cost, but you just saved yourself, I don't know, $250, $300. Maybe you guys could tell me what an appliance place would charge for a trip to your house to do this. Make sure, again, you replace your hose. Go over to Lowe's. If it hasn't been done in a few years, chances are it's pretty clogged. Or again, if you're getting wet clothes, can't figure out why cycle ends early or it stops sooner than it should, that could be clogged, or it could be the vent outside the house. So check that often, especially in the winter. Again, no fires this year. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to Fix Everything. Your dryer runs like a dream now. If there's any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. Please subscribe. And please hit that like button. Really appreciate that. And share this video with anyone you think could use it. And we appreciate you tuning in tonight. Have a great day.